Hi, welcome to Nom Watch Review, part of Nom Talk Network. On this show, we review the latest film drop or throwback celebrating a milestone while eating and drinking our favorite movies or food and snacks. Ugh, I just was running for everywhere. I'm your host, Erric Ramirez, and tonight I'm drinking some seltzer water because hydration is key. And also, I am eating some lovely, lovely fries, which are delicious. But I am excited to introduce you to our guests tonight, Carolyn, Kurt, and Alejandro. Alejandro, go ahead and introduce yourself out there.
Hey, how's it going? Excited talking about the movie. Yeah. And speaking of food, I got this huge shelf pizza for myself because I'm like a glutton. And of course, we're gonna do a shameless placement because, like, Pepsi, but pizza, the movie. Koopa ordered pizza. I'm getting that. Anyway.
Hi. Well, thank you for being here, Carolyn. Go ahead and introduce yourself out there.
Hey, it's Carolyn. So I've got my really cool dystopian dinosaur 1980s looking much like the film. Oh, what? There's a mustache. And, because a lot of the elements didn't fit together and didn't make any sense. My drink is some sort of caffeinated beverage. In this case, it's a Diet Coke. And my food was sushi that I had 3 hours ago because I went to an all-you-can-eat sushi place and probably won't be eating until like 11 o'clock at night. So, but we do have amazing candy, and I have trail mix as well.
Nice. I haven't had sushi in a while. I kind of want to go out now and get some. And Kurt, Kurt, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody out there.
Hey, I'm the Kurt Broz, everybody's favorite scientist / pop culture guy, enjoying a hardcore root beer right now, and I just ate a cheese stick, so living the dream.
Nice, living the dream. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm excited for tonight because, and this mustache is not going to stay on, so I'll just put it here and see how that goes. Tonight we are talking about the 1993 movie Mario Bros. With John Leguizamo and John Hopkins. So before we get into this film, because there's a lot to talk about, there's goods and there's bads and everything like that, I want to know where you guys first came in contact with this film, what were your thoughts were, how it's aged for you, all of that. We'll start with you, Kurt, on this one.
Yeah, I saw it in the theaters. My mom took me when I was 10, came out in 93. Yeah, I was 10. And I can assure you, young me was very disappointed in this movie, and adult me is equally as disappointed, but I went to the theater, so I was a Mario guy from childhood on.
Okay, cool. And Alejandro, when did you first come in contact and your thoughts about it?
I had to unmute myself there for a second. They went all over the mic, but very similar to Kurt, saw it, except not in the movie theater. I was a Mario fan initially when I saw this film. My ratings of it weren't so high as a kid. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, okay, something's not right here. But I will go on a little later. Rewatching it actually hit me in ways I didn't expect. So for its own reasons why I rate a little higher, we'll go on that a little later. But yeah, initially I saw it around, I think it was maybe 7 to 10 years old. Yeah, I actually watched the whole movie in my living room now I think about it. I was walking around and plumber. I wanted to be a plumber, so I put my suspenders on with the plunger. It was great. But anyway, yeah, that's my initial perspective.
Now I just want to see pictures of little Alejandro just walking around dressed as Mario or Luigi.
Yes.
And Carolyn, when did you first come in contact with this, and what's your thoughts?
So and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at some point this movie and Jurassic Park were close to each other, and at the time I was just starting to get really obsessed with movies. So I think I might have asked my mom to take me to go see it, but the only thing that I remember about it at the time was the fact that there was that slime everywhere, and the slime really creeped it out. And we'll go into why the slime really creeped me out, but the slime really creeped me out, and it scared the heck out of me. And then I rewatched it, and I was just like, there's some pieces of it that I really like, and it's mostly production design, because late 80s, early 90s production design was peak on so many levels with so many different things, but the rest of it I was like, man, I went from terrified. I went from Return of the Jedi, scared of Darth Vader levels of terrified, to watching this going, just gonna production designer, wherever you are, you did your job. We love to see it. I'm just doing this for you, sir or ma'am.
No, I have to right there with Alejandro. I saw this in my living room when I was a kid, and I loved it because I love really bad movies. Even back then, I loved really bad movies, so I love this movie still. The aging of it for me is another story we're going to get into there, but yeah, no, it's definitely one of those heartstring movies for me, but it's not good. Speaking of, now I do want to get in the nitty gritty because I know all of us are kind of in the same area of your popcorn ratings. I want to really get into on why we have our issues and everything like that. Alejandro, let's start on you with this one.
Initially for me right now, I'm coming from a little more less of a obviously a harsh angle, and I understand for future reasons. I'm hearing your guys' reasons for that. I totally get it by all means. Very much like you though, Eric. For me, in regards to it, it was like a living room exploration thing for me. The movie just came out. I was the only child, so for me, and only child for about 10 years. So for me, it was like didn't have neighbors' kids to go to. Video games were my references every once in a while. And in my defense, at the time being, I just started playing Mario. So it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, great. There's a movie actually coming out about a game that I just played Nintendo because I was just hyped about it in general. Now, I will say this. Initially, when I first saw the movie, the slime got to me. I never understood how the king could be one thing and all of a sudden be everywhere and all of a sudden just be the snot that comes in and somehow he then mystically comes back to peace. So as a kid, that kind of threw me off initially for it. And I guess the also second, I guess, scare, so to speak, or my initial, like, oh, I have a fear of this movie to some extent, was the introduction of Yoshi, the introduction of the Troopas that were out there. To me, I guess at that age, I wasn't as amazed by, I'd say, costume design and so forth. It was so realistic, it creeped me out. So initially that threw me off a little bit because I was expecting to see something cartoony, in the first place. But initially, I have to say though, my 3.5 rating would actually be around because of a rewatch. So my initial watch of the film, while we're at this point here, was that I mean, like you said, Carolyn, like just the set design, the costume design, everything over there looked really great. It did this job to scare the crap out of me as a kid. Now looking at an adult now, I'm like, that's kind of badass. So, but that's my initial interaction. Like, oh my god, all these things kind of creep me out, but I actually enjoyed it to some extent.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go next because I'm going to go in order and see how it progresses down.
Okay.
I definitely rated it a 3. Which, like, the costume design and everything now is why it brings me. I'm just like, they did a lot of work on this movie. Granted, they went way over budget with this movie, but they did a lot of work. Costuming, the Brooklyn sets and everything like that was great. However, they did too much for me, even back then when I was a little kid, that didn't really connect to the game. And even when you see it in the movies, like the boots and the Yoshis, and they tried to throw everything in there but the kitchen sink, and it just didn't play off well for them, I don't think. But yeah, a 3, that's what I'm sticking with. Carolyn, what's your popcorn rating?
So my popcorn rating was a 2.5, and I've already talked multiple times about the set design and how I am captured less by the characters and the fact that they did try and throw in references because it got so lost. Right before I did my rewatch of the movie, I went and saw the new Mario movie, and comparing the two, you basically see that they crafted a completely different story and just used some of the names and the characters. So that definitely drove it down a little bit because but you really see also how it's a kid's game, and how they didn't want to bring it back to the screen for 30 years after this. But really, it's the nostalgia for me. It's the late 80s, early 90s, massive dystopian, vaguely, we're all going to be wearing, punk vests and leather and running around and, fighting dinosaurs. But so much of it didn't make sense. And then there was Dennis Hopper and the monkey comment, and it's just it's the production design, and then looking back, it's just cheese. It's good cheese. Good cheese.
It's okay, cheese.
Okay.
Kurt, what is your popcorn rating and why? I'm very interested.
What did I say? 0? Yeah, this movie is terrible. I can't describe. It somehow became a cult classic, but to me it's really baffling. There's a couple of levels of bad to me. Like there's good things in it, but really kills it for me is especially like looking back as when I saw it as a kid. It was too boring and dark to be like a fun kids movie. Like it's not like colorful Mario. It's just like this weird like dystopian. And now as an adult, it's still kind of too boring and competent to be a fun bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a lot of it's bad. It doesn't make any sense. But everything is competent enough that you don't have those moments of hilarity. It just to me it's just like a flat nothing. That if it was not Super Mario Brothers, it would have been forgotten and we never talk about it again. That's what I think.
Okay. I can definitely see that. Well, thank you guys for giving your popcorn ratings. But let's get into this movie a little bit so we could break things down. So on IMDb, just because there's a lot going on, it says 2 Brooklyn plumbers, Mario and Luigi, which we know, must travel to another dimension to rescue a princess from the evil dictator King Koopa and stop him from taking over the world. That's the same Mario that we know from the video games and all the other adaptations that have come out since then. How were you guys' initial reactions to like seeing like it's not Princess Peach, it's Daisy, and like the Mario Brothers were these 2 older guys and everything like that, and they were trying to like get this dinosaur bones not from this dig site and trying to protect that, and then they end up in the world where it's like a dystopian society and there's not really like the turtles or anything like that, but these weird things. What were you guys' thoughts on that? Like, do you think the directors, because there's issues there, were just all over the place and trying to like do what they could to impress people? We'll start with you on this one, Caroline.
So I definitely think you lose track of some of it if you don't have Peach, if you don't have Bowser, and if you don't have the brother plumbers were fine. I never really clocked Mario's age at being younger than I was or older than I was, because when I played the game I was 6 and he was a little yellow man on a Nintendo screen. So it never really clocked that for me, but yes, exactly, it was that man. It was that guy right there. So it never really clocked for me like the differences, but it's really I'm coming in from a slightly biased perspective, I admit, because right before rewatching it, I did watch the new one, and when you see the stark difference, I remember reading somewhere that I think it was a Variety article about it where they interviewed the directors, and the directors were like, and we don't know how true this is or not, but they were like, oh, Shigeru Miyamoto-san just said, Nintendo said, run with it. And I'm like, well, y'all ran with it into the wall and then bounced. And then you picked yourself up and you ran into the wall again, and you just kept trying to go through that wall, didn't you? Without the door being right there next to you.
No, I agree with you. This movie is credited to Nintendo not ever letting anybody do another live action. They literally were just like, no, this was so bad, we're not doing it again. You can't do it. It has to be animated, which we just got the new animated one. Kurt, what are your thoughts on this? Like the jumbled storiness of this movie?
Yeah, it's fascinating because at this point, by the time the movie was in production, there were at least like 8 Mario games. Like there's 4 main series and then a handful of other games with Mario in them. Mm-hmm. So, and you could say, well, they're Nintendo games, but they have stories. Like they all have, even the really simple ones have a story. So there was so much story to choose from, especially like Mario 2, which was, famously not originally a Mario game, has a pretty like definitive story. Mario 3 has kind of an interesting story. Super Mario World, there's all these stories and they chose none of them. and it's just it's fascinating. I wonder, like, I don't know a lot about the script, but I kind of feel like the movie was made based on, like, somebody had ideas they wanted for a movie and they just pigeonholed it into the Mario movie, because so much of the stuff just doesn't feel like Mario. Like there's things in there that have a Mario name but have nothing to do with the games or the comics or anything that existed at this point. It's weird, but at least some of the casting is good. And then Yeah, I don't know why the Daisy, not Peach or Pauline, or there's so many just weird choices that would be fascinating to find out why they made those exact choices. Like, why is Yoshi like 2 feet tall? Why are they dinosaurs that evolved into people? Like, there's just and none of it makes any sense. And I guess that's to its benefit. We're still talking about it because it made so little sense. It's fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes no sense to me. Alejandro, what are your thoughts on the storyline of this movie that's everywhere?
I'm a little different. I think it's the opposite. I do believe that if Mario wasn't attached to the film could actually be even bigger cult classic. My main thing is just because essentially the only thing that bombs this film is they attach the Mario name to it. Hypothetically speaking, people are expecting to see, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Daisy. The reason why they went in the Daisy direction is because they couldn't find a lot of interest from Mario, so they actually kept the Luigi option and kept Daisy for him in that quick regard. However, I did hear rumors there was supposed to be a Peach, but once again, they couldn't find a proper, or they get people they actually personally want. If we're going to be real about the film, the only thing they actually took from it is the fact that both of the individuals are plumbers. That's it. They have a extra concept. I do think it's kind of badass, though, because they created the multiverse before many people did, considering the fact that it was literally 2 universes that were scripted over. And the only thing difference is that in this particular universe, humans actually are intertwined with the DNA dinosaur species, which... shameless plug, the only reason why I have a pizza here is because you actually see Koopa actually order a pizza and say, oh, please, no mammals on it. So hypothetically speaking, it's really mixed up into figuring out, okay, cool, how do these, okay, are we saying that humans and hypothetically the dinosaurs are that, whatever period that they're trying to intertwine at the time being, are they one and the same? And all of a sudden compared to what he mentioned, primates and humans. So, they tried to go ahead and show a huge difference in a sense, and saying that in this world, they all descended from dinosaurs. Is considered that we actually descended from, what do you call it? Help me out here, Kurt, as a Homo sapiens, I'm assuming. I can't think of the other term at the time being, but
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hominids were all
hominids. Thank you very much. And the reason why I was saying that is they tried to do a quick cast and do a really, really vague explanation over something that, as you could tell, Kurt, it was horrible in explaining. So they really, really should have probably had somebody involved in the education. I mean, like, hey, maybe you should said this or done this. But I really do believe that if Mario wasn't attached to it, like you said, like the Troopa concept, the de-evolution things were kind of off in general. Realistically speaking, my favorite part of this film in general is going to be John Leguizamo and the man, the myth, the legend himself that was on, Roger Rabbit. I think it was his name. Oh my God, hold on. I got it. Bob Hoskins. Bob Hoskins. So, I mean, they were fantastic. Going at, Samantha as Daisy wasn't bad. And hypothetically speaking, she was just kind of like that 90s heartthrob of that era. So, I mean, I do remember from like commercials and so forth as well. I will say as a kid, initially I was trying to figure out like, where the fuck Peach at? Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I couldn't really think about it. Now, watching the film as an adult, the only reason why it went from I'd say a strong 1.5 to a 3.5 of me was, once again, the set design and everything that they went full in. And I mean, you really believed that you were in this part of the world. It was actually really impressive. And I was telling producer staff while we're watching the film, I said, hypothetically speaking, so the CGI graphics for Daisy going out, going, hell, Mario. I said, that was pretty impressive for that time. I mean, having that, having that little, floor, little ruffle in time between that, what do you call it? The portal of dirt between the two worlds that they had there, while she was, having the stone there. So, I mean, honestly, the only reason why that 3.5 went up in that sense was because it was trying to get I guess I have a habit of disassociating with things I dislike with the movie and kind of ignoring them in general. And when I see Mario Brothers, I don't really think Mario Brothers. I just think if it's a sci-fi film with how I was introduced to John Leguizamo as a kid. So I think that's essentially, on my perspective, that's why it's really a 3.5 and more on the, like I believe Eric said before, more of the nostalgic concepts of it. But if we're going to be realistic at all, this movie bombed like crazy in any hopes of having a live action, at least in the 90s, obviously the 2000s. Do I want a live action? That's a different answer. I might want to if they actually follow some things through. That'd be nice. But anyway, I digress. That's my opinion.
And Carolyn, what are your thoughts? I know it looked like you had something to say as well.
Oh, no. I was gonna, he was like, where Peach at? And I was like, well, she's in the new Illumination movie. And what's great about the new Illumination movie is that they said there's a multiverse and there's all different kinds of worlds out there, and I'm like, oh dear God, Universal, did you make this canon in your new Mario movie?
Yeah.
Did you pull a Disney? Why
Oh,
would you do that to
no.
yourself?
Did you
No, but
nice.
okay. So like we see issues with the direction that this film went in with the story and everything like that and all that. I do want to talk about this cast because I mean that's my draw, like you were saying, Alejandro, like Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo for me bring me back every time because I just love them. I don't think they did a bad job. But then we have like Dennis Hopper, Samantha Mathis, all of them, and like what did you think of this cast? We're going to get into something here in a second as well. But what did you think about this cast? I'll let you go first, Alejandro.
I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be honest with you. One of my favorite actors, his name is gonna be Moho Nixon for Toad. I'm sorry, I thought he was decent for what he was. I mean, I understand that he was not Toad in any way, shape, or form, and ruined it, and his haircut in general before he became a trooper himself. But as all three of you said before, Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, there's no questions about it. Casting in that direction is amazing. Samantha Mathis, for me, I really think she's more of an eye candy concept. I don't think she played the role bad. However, it is Daisy, therefore they just pasted a name over a character, and the character had no concept of being a princess or anything in any way, shape, or form, or did she? But the point was, it just didn't really hit the mark. She wasn't bad as the casting concept, but as it's previously stated before, it just seems to just kind of be drift off a little bit. I will say Fiona Shaw for Lena, she killed it. I thought she was just little, her actual self. And the thing with Fiona Shaw, though, the weird thing is that she's Fiona Shaw. Every character that Fiona Shaw is in, she's just a version of Fiona Shaw. But the cool thing about it is she was supposed to be that supporting casting. She was supposed to be that I want the power, but I'm the queen bitch behind the king in a sense. So I do think that she did pretty decent on that, obviously, in that sense. But realistically speaking, I gotta talk about King Koopa, Dennis Hopper. All right, I like him as an actor, and in fact, I think he plays a ridiculously good villain. I don't know how I feel about this Koopa role. I rewatched twice again, and I was like, okay, obviously I don't like the film, storyline per se, but how do I feel about him being Koopa? And I'm starting to wonder if it was the writing. So I don't know because I know some actors will sit there and read the script per se and get into the script and hold to the script hard because they need to, have something. So and once again, please, one of you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure I'm not sure much of the storyline, the writing, because of course we hate the storyline in general, but in regards to who wrote the script, I don't know, maybe that could have been it with him. Maybe that's the one thing I can't put my finger on. But other than obviously Mario Luigi liking him, as a kid, I was just eye gaga over Daisy because she was a pretty woman. It was on the screen. I was like, oh my God, but who's Pete? Like, what's Peach? Kind of deal. So, but once again, I would say those would be the three I'd be acceptable. Dennis Hopper, I like him as an actor, but as Koopa, I couldn't. I'm still undecided.
Yeah, no, I see what you're talking about. Before I say what I say, Nom Talk Network redeemed Take a Bite. So we have all of these little cute little things with our little treats. Everybody take a bite of your Mario World treats.
Power up. Power up.
They're really good though. Like if you look close to them too, it's kind of crazy. You can see the actual no, I can't do it. Detector. No. Heck yeah.
All right. But going along the lines of what you were saying, Alejandro, with the script maybe being his thing, they were actually rewriting the script like every other day during this movie. So there came a point where Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo would just get drunk, not even learn their dailies, and just come into set and do whatever they were being told because it was getting rewritten so much from the directors of this film because they just wanted to keep changing it and throwing stuff out. So the chaoticness of that is very apparent. And yeah, no, like everybody hates this movie because of it. Kurt, what are your thoughts on the cast of this movie?
So going back to the Dennis Hopper thing, I have a hypothesis. And I'd have to look at the timeline.
Carolyn for a second. She'll be back, but go ahead and keep going, Kurt.
So I have a hypothesis, and I'd have to look at the timeline. But I'm pretty sure Dennis Hopper is Donald Trump. And there's a specific reason. There's more than one character in pop culture that was based on Donald Trump, because at this point he was already a famous rich guy who was a Manhattan real estate mogul. And Dennis Hopper kind of plays it a little like an 80s Trump. So that's my hypothesis. I think it's based on him and some other people, you know, that but so I wonder if that's intentional. But to me, like the cast is all pretty good, which is another issue, I guess, with my like it's too boring to be like a good bad movie. Because nobody's playing it, nobody's awful. And other than Dennis Hopper, nobody's really like playing it crazy. Like he's having a little fun because he doesn't care at that point, but everybody else is. And Dennis Hopper at one point in his career was being like any movie you would pay him for. But I'm gonna go a slightly different route. I think the outstanding actors in this are the Yoshi puppet and the Goomba puppet. Those are the ones that really sell to me. Those if there was an Academy Award for a best actor in a bad movie, Yoshi or Goomba should have been up for it. Although I like Big Bertha too. She's fun.
She's fun. The dance scene, guys. Can't forget the dance scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess the worst in the movie are the Koopa kids. They're terrible. Whoever played the Koopa kids.
Yeah.
Total wrong role.
Do have to say, for that Yoshi puppet, you are correct that it is one of the best actors in it because it takes 64 different movements, but 9 puppeteers did that little Yoshi.
Wow.
9 puppeteers?
9 off of a 200-foot cable when he was in the room. There was a 200-foot cable behind him, and 9 puppeteers were controlling him.
That's
so.
I'm not gonna lie, Eric. I thought you were gonna be like the Yoshi was real, and I was like, wait, what? The Yoshi was real?
Dinosaurs?
I totally wish the Yoshi was real. I mean, not the cutest Yoshi, but totally wish that it was real. So, what is your thoughts on the cast, Carolyn?
So, I love the 80s cheese of Hopper. I agree with Kurt. I think that the Trumpian-esque 1980s Gordon Gekko vibes were very strong with that. He played a great dinosaur. I don't know where King Goomba was, but he played a great businessman dinosaur. I love John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins were the best. And I don't know if anybody's mentioned the quote that was circling around where Hoskins was talking about his getting the role, and his kids were like, "Oh, you're in a video game," and he's like, "What?" And he looks it up, and he's like, "Oh my god!" He goes, "I used to play King Lear, and now I'm playing Mario with Super Mario Brothers."
What?
He's just like, I'm classically trained, and I didn't know that he was classically trained, but baby John Leguizamo, I think by far was the best character. And once again, coming from that perspective where you have, I would only assume a more canon accurate Luigi in the new animated version versus this one, you really appreciate what Leguizamo brought to the character. He was real leading man status. I would have liked to have seen a Mario movie where he played a real Luigi with that kind of energy.
Yeah.
I gotta stop dragging this movie. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, and that's the hard thing is too, because like at least a couple of us here, except for Kurt, like this movie for different aspects. And I think even before rewatching it this time, I honestly have to be, because Seth Rogen, who's in the new movie, did a statement a couple of weeks ago before the new one came out saying that this was the worst movie ever and like it was crap and everything. I kind of got offended. I was just like, what? Fuck you. But this movie is actually really bad. I just love it for different reasons.
He's just mad that Donkey Kong wasn't in it.
Well, John Leguizamo came back to him and he was just like, he pretty much said what I said and was just talking about how the cast of the new movie is not technically what it was back then with him and Bob Hoskins and everything like that. And he wanted a little bit more of that. But having said that, even the cast of the movie at the time hated this movie. Hated they done it, hated they were part of it, hated that it's a part of their repertoire. All of them. What do you think about this? Like, and their reactions? Like, we have Bob Hoskins saying, saying it was a nightmare to work with those directors. It was a nightmare to be on set. John Leguizamo has said the same thing in other interviews. So has Fiona Shaw. She said that as well. And Dennis Hopper. Like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, for everybody in your cast to like downgrade this movie so much that they don't want it on their resumes. We'll start with you on this one, Kurt.
You know, that's such an interesting, I guess, indictment of the production. because there's plenty of actors who have been in terrible movies and they're like, oh, I had fun, or like somebody famously, I'm trying to remember what actor was, famously said, I did that movie because I just bought a house. Like, for a lot of actors, it's a job, right? Like you do things because it's your job and you want to be in good movies, but you still have to pay bills. Like we all have to take a job. So for like the entire cast to basically say this was miserable, this was awful, it must have just been hell on set. I can only imagine. The production was apparently changing all the time. Scripts were changing. Dennis Hopper was supposed to be there for 5 days or a week or something.
Yeah.
There for months.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine it was not fun. And if you were stuck in like some of the makeup, if you've ever worn prosthetics, if you're in a Goomba suit, it was probably 150 degrees in there, sweating, having to sway back and forth in an elevator, just feeling embarrassed for your life. So yeah, I can feel for them, and that probably, I would love to see like a good documentary in the backstage, like the behind the scenes making of. That's probably way more interesting in the movie itself, just how this came to be, like all the choices and how they got good actors and everything just came to be this just mess we know of.
Yeah. Alejandro, what are your thoughts on this?
As a struggling actor, I mean, I totally get it. Sometimes you're on a set. Well, I'm not as successful as they are. So let's be clear. But anyway, the point is, when you're like on a particular project and you feel bad about it, and you're there for hours on end, you can't really tell it really sucks, that individual, unless you're experiencing it. So honestly, I can't even imagine what they're going through. So as much as I'm trying to compare to it, I'm sure it's not as bad as what they went through. Being that, I mean, seeing, John Leguizamo, Bob Hoskins, looking at also Dennis Hopper, looking at their previous, the movies afterwards too as well. I mean, I haven't seen them talk as much, shit about that as well. So seeing, I would say lower end productions not get as much as a bad rub, does kind of like look in this light and like, oh, okay, was it really that bad? And not doubting them, but like, oh, it must have really been that bad in that sense. But along with this I do know that John Leguizamo is actually, you mentioned a couple good things here and there, but other than that, I think it's more of experience, not the production of the actual thing itself. So it's hard to judge somebody when you see, as Kurt says and Carolyn mentioned before, it's their job. It's a form of employment. So when you have a bad job or a boss you hate, you really don't want to work underneath them. So I can only imagine when you're attached to a production for a certain amount of time, like the time that you are promised, and initially that pay is not going to come to you until you then complete additional 3 weeks to months of filming, and you never expected in the first place. Hands down, I can definitely see why.
Yeah. Carolyn, what are your thoughts about this? And then we're going to jump into chat. We're going to jump into chat after that. Also, Carolyn, there is a word band. We can't use the word the.
So I can only begin to imagine how difficult it must be for individuals working on productions to manage those productions with actors, and actors themselves obviously have things to say about directors. From the top down, it seems as if directors with movies, particularly this movie, might be a big part of problems. When it comes, I was reading a Variety article, and apparently directors for this movie never worked in a major production again, and were only literally allowed back into the production that they had. Were only literally allowed into the production that they had when they at like an anniversary screening, and that might have been for the best.
Oh yeah, for sure the best. Because from what I got from directors of this movie, they did not work well at all. the wife husband team, constant bickering, wouldn't let each other know of their choices. So wife would say, we're gonna change Goombas to look this way, and husband would not even know that it was a thing until they showed up on set, and that's what was happening.
No. Oh my
Husband would also make choices like they fungus all over everywhere, and wife had no idea. So that's a lot of the issues with this movie as well. Let me see here.
Absolute tragedy is female directors on video game movies. Rare. They are rare, very rare, and I think it's important for movies to have that. So very sad. That is very sad to hear.
Yes. Now I am going to jump into chat because I want to get some people's popcorn ratings and everything. But in the meantime, we get a tattoo ourselves, guys. We get a tattoo ourselves, guys. So while we're doing that, I'm going to read a little bit of the chat, and we're going to put some tattoos on, okay? Okay.
I'm pre-Mario tattooed.
Cheater,
Yeah,
cheater! You have an epic tattoo, okay? Kurt, I'm jealous. I want to hear it, okay? One of
Okay.
Jeez.
So jumping into the chat, Q Ball. Hey Q, sorry I didn't get this earlier, but his popcorn rating is 5 out of 5 because it is a cult classic, and Bob Hopkins and John Leguizamo were awesome as Mario and Luigi, and I never saw Dennis Hopper as Bowser, but he pulled it off. It's one of those movies that was keeping up with the times in the 90s, and he thinks he's right. Jay Fancy Pants says, oh my God, Alejandro's Bowser hat is hilarious. I love how Kurt is like 0 out of 5, but do not recommend. But also in the chat, we're getting a little frisky in the chat here that I'm looking at. Let me see. Let me go back. The Kurt Bros, Q Ball is in the chat with Kurt, disagreeing with him about the thoughts of the movie, that at the time it was very hyped up movie. It was very cheesy 90s style movie. And he watched it a while back and he still likes it, but he thinks it would have been better if it actually followed the game, which all of us here agree. Does anybody have thoughts or rebuttals or anything to that? We'll start with you on this one, Kurt.
Yeah, it was definitely hyped up. I remember I was super excited, but there's so many better, even like, talking about like the set design, the Double Dragon movie had a better like dystopian future. Street Fighter was closer to the game. Like there's so many just better.
Hey, don't bring up awesome movies.
I guess technically, there's a whole other discussion about the Mortal Kombat movies and how none of them have actually had Mortal Kombat in them. But at least they had like characters for Mortal Kombat in them. So there's plenty of better bad video game movies and worse video game movies like Postal. But yeah, I don't know. It was bad then, it's bad now. I don't know what to tell you. If you appreciate, I'm glad you can enjoy it and laugh and have fun, but sigh.
Okay, so Jay Fancy Pants says it was trying to be the dark fifth element of the 90s too hard. You can see that. I like that comparison. But okay, so with all of this,
I met you, Kurt. Now, hold on 1 second here. Let me try.
Oh.
Kurt, it's not as good as yours, Kurt, but it's there. Okay, I got a whole like 8 hours to meet yours. I'm gonna have to do that.
Can you see mine? I don't know.
Which one is it? Which one do you get?
No.
Which one do you have on, Eric?
I have the Mario Yoshi.
I got Yoshi. Awesome. What about Carolyn?
I ended up with Yoshi, but he got all squished.
Oh no! Oh,
I still think Kurt has the better one, but whatever, Kurt.
Yeah, I know, for real, Kurt. You should have given me more prep time. I could have done that.
Okay, next time we're just gonna send you tattoos, and you're gonna be covered.
Perfect.
For when we do the cast, so you don't have to do it.
Also, I don't know if your snacks are doing this. I have. I like blue too much, evidently.
See, I think since ours are pink, it's not giving us the same effect.
Oh yeah, you have actually. I have a healthy looking tongue. It's pink. It's wholesome.
Okay. So I do want to talk about this set. We've touched base on it. That's why we kind of all like it. This set was in a warehouse that they used to produce cars in, and they changed it and built it around the entire city. That's where it was built from ground up. There. Let's see if I can find out. There's a couple of more movies that they've actually shot in that same thing after Mario, and they still use same designs as Mario. And if you pay attention to these movies, you can kind of see the little references in them. Let me see, where was it? It was a cement factory, sorry. But after that, they used it for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 90s.
Yep.
It was the same one, but Teenage Mutants used a little different part of it. Then the year after this movie came out, they used it for the Crow, for the nightclub.
Oh, I knew I liked how it looked somehow. Crow is my favorite production design movie. Crow and Crow 2 are just defined my style aesthetic as a angsty small child. Ugh, yeah. Love it.
So this set has obviously been used in Hollywood enough now with movies that we've been seeing. Would you like to see them reuse the set kind of in a multiverse Mario movie, now that they just brought it up, touching base, kind of Doctor Strange when he's flying through the different worlds and everything, paint worlds and stuff like that? Would you like to see a little glimpse of that in one of the movies? What are your thoughts on this? Carolyn, we'll go with that.
I think it'd be great, honestly. I mean, if Dungeons and Dragons can do a jump through different Dungeons and Dragons versions of the multiverse, there's no one that owns a specific copyright on the idea of different universes interacting and intersecting with each other. It's been something that we've been doing for millennia as far as storytellers go. And I would absolutely, absolutely love some kind of line where you get the animated Illumination cast going through, and maybe just Bowser just starts swearing and going off, and then Luigi's I don't know, maybe it looks so good. And then he looks over and he goes, nope, 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 nope. And then he just runs off, something like that. And I think it'd be great. I'm down.
Yeah. Alejandro, what are your thoughts on this? A multiverse?
I would love to see a multiverse. Here's the thing, though. The only way I'd agree to see a multiverse in this new and they'd bring this Mario universe to play is if they were really serious and trying to go in a different direction and maybe hopefully making it. I mean, obviously we can't see good old Bob Hoskins, man. But John Leguizamo is great in general, and I know he's definitely outspoken about his dislike casting and so forth. What's going on the new one? But regardless, I do think the universe concept and multiverse concept is very interesting and doable. But once again, it has to be done right. So, I mean, as much as I want to say, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm probably about 70%. Let's do it right now. And then if it was brought up and, you had a good foundation and there was actual direction, then I'm about 98% yes. But yeah, for the most part, for it.
Okay. Kurt, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I guess if you, it'd be tough because, Bob Hoskins is dead.
Mm-hmm.
The name escapes me. I can't think of the wrestler who was the live action Mario in the cartoon Super Show.
Oh, damn it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I should know. But he's dead. So two of your live action Marios are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really it'd be kind of tough, I guess, to do it unless it was maybe a gag, throwaway, funny thing, or.
What do you guys think about the whole Pedro Pascal thing he's been doing? The SNL skit.
That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, I could see a couple of gags, but it'd be hard to do a whole multiverse movie when you don't really have a multiverse.
Yeah. Caroline?
Chris Pratt with a hilarious giant mustache as Mario. just because you have animated Mario just staring at him and going, I think he looks pretty. I mean, it would be such a cheesy 90s guy, but just I think he looks pretty handsome, and have all the other characters in the movie go, no. Just no. Just because I think that would be a great way to laugh for the guy, for all of his things, to laugh at himself if he wanted to do that, because he should laugh at himself. But that if you're gonna do it, do something like that, or toss in an ad memoriam. Just have it be Luigi.
Yeah.
I mean, the other
Kelly.
way they could try to make up for this really is reach out for the community of people in general. See the current actors they have listed on here, even people that they weren't like as big as considered the Hollywood names. If they really got, you know, if somebody really wanted to do it, then they would actually go ahead and cast types that should be in there. If we're talking about POC types in that sense, if we're talking about a class, you know, whether, you know, the actors in general. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because we all know that there's hundreds and hundreds of actors out there that are not used because of who you know. So it'd be fantastic if somehow, even if this wasn't done, I'm going to borderline say this, you guys might call blasphemy here. If it was done independently, as in like a crowdfunded project and dedicated to going, okay, cool, let's find multiple Marios, because, you know, look at these areas and these are these casting people, this is what we're looking for and cast it. I'm willing to see that, you know, just to see how that goes. But once again, this is just hypothetical. No one greenlit anything, but
it won't happen, but hypothetically, that would be great.
Yeah.
So going back to the chat really quick, Cue Ball has said that he agrees with you, Alex, with the Super Mario multiverse, that it would be interesting if it was done right, and like you said, or like he said, if it follows the game and the feel of it. But also, Q has now redeemed, do your best Mario impression for all of us. So as I let you guys think about how you're going to do this, I will go first because I put back on the mustache and it's not going to stay that long. So ready? Hello, it's me, Mario.
Right on.
Carolyn, you want to go next?
Wahoo! It's me, Mario, talking on the internet. Where's my pizza? My Italian ancestors are upset with me for doing this funny accent. It's terrible. I'm sorry.
No, that was really good. Kurt, will go to you next.
Kick my ass.
Your ancestors are rolling in their grave.
Hey, I'm Chris Pratt. I'm in everything now. I'm Mario.
Kurt won. Everyone go home.
I don't want to even do mine. Oh my God. It's me.
Bro.
How am I supposed to follow that?
No, everybody agrees in the chat, Kurt. Like you 10 out of 10, you win that. Now, but we are getting towards the end of this. We've been talking about the actings and everything like that. I want to get your guys' final thoughts on this movie. Like, would you recommend it to people? Yeah, let's just go with that. Would you recommend it with people, and like your final thoughts? We'll start with you on this one, Alejandro.
Right when you said it just called this, like, this whole thing played out in my head, because here I am looking at Eric explain this gorgeous Kurt. This next question, he's like so articulate. I see Kurt kind of turn his head, and I see Karen kind of turn his head, and I said, would you recommend it to other people? And Steph goes and I just hear a laugh. I'm so sorry for the pause. Yes, but for one particular reason, just because of the actors in it, to show, you know, in particular John Leguizamo, Bob Hoskins, I believe, to show just a little bit of a nod to him. And honestly, I would really preface, this movie is not to enjoy because of the storyline. This is not a Mario movie. However, let's show you a cool dystopian little thing that really went off to really far left in a different direction. So I would say yes, but I would definitely be talking to the whole movie and explain shit.
Kurt, what are your thoughts on this? Would you recommend it? Even how bad it is?
I can't. I wish I could. To me, this is kind of like another movie in the same category for me is like Morbius, where it's not funny or entertaining enough to be a bad movie. I could say watch this. To me, this movie's just kind of boring and weird. So I can't recommend it. Maybe find some clips of the best parts, like Dennis Hopper being weird online.
Okay. And Carolyn, would you recommend this? What are your final thoughts on this movie?
Fade in my apartment. I gather many friends. I put on a movie. I don't tell them what the movie's title is. I let it play. I see what they think. And when it's done, I say, if I told you that this was the Super Mario Brothers movie, what would you think? and I just let it happen. Or even better, my big thing is whenever we do the nostalgic movies, I really want to show them to friends of mine that are younger than I am. So I would do exactly that, but I would do it with Gen Z kids, and I would see what they thought.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
I just want to see like if it's like, oh, this is the greatest film ever, or oh, this is just awful, or what. I just want to be like, what do you think? Just put a big sticker over it, and it's like, what if I told you this was the Mario Brothers movie? Just to hear the people going, why is it Luigi? What's a Goomba? Why does it look like a demented Muppet that Jim Henson made while he was drunk? What's going on here? So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but God, I would prank people with it.
Yes, I agree with you. I would make people watch it. I watch it because, like I said, it has a pull in my heart for some odd reason. I made my roommates watch it when we were doing it ready for this, and they all have the same pull. But it's not good. The newer movie, I would definitely recommend that over this anytime. But just going back maybe once every couple of years and just showing it to a random person who has no idea would be fun. So I agree with you on that, Carolyn. But that is all the time we have tonight. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to shout out all of you guys. I also want to be sure to tell everybody out there to join our Discord to keep this conversation going, as well as subscribing to our other platforms at Nom Talk Network. But let the people out there know where they can find you on social medias, what you guys are doing. Go ahead, and we'll start with you on this one, Carolyn. Where can people out there find you?
You can find me on my Twitter at Carolyn in Fandom, and that's CAROLYN, and then Fandom FANDOM. You can also find me on Instagram at Carolyn's Geek Out. I'm on TikTok for the moment while we still have TikTok, but it's my cosplay TikTok account. So, but yeah, and that's basically it. What I'm doing, vibing and waiting for con season to pick up gigs.
Nice. Kurt, where can the people out there find you, where you look at what you're doing?
WLFK Films on Instagram. And then I think my TikTok's just my name, Kurt Broz. You'll find the weird cosplay videos and some more serious stuff. And then usually if you just look my name up on the internet, you'll find things I've done all over the place, things I've written, a film I wrote, I don't know, random things. Just Google me, you'll find it.
Cool. And then Alejandro, let them know where they can find you. They see us every week, but where can they find you?
No, true. You can find me with this goofy hat here and many other things on IAMCOWIE. That's I am Cowie. That's Instagram. You can also find me at Alejandro Cowie on Facebook. Same reels, similar situations. TikTok, why it's still here, I think it's staying. That's just me, here to stay. You can find me at alejandro.cowie there as well. So I am Cowie, alejandro.cowie, and Alejandro Cowie. You'll find me, promise.
Nice. And then again, I'm your host, Eric. You can find me on all social media platforms except for Twitter, because I got rid of that with that whole thing that happened. But you can find me at Heartless7. That's HARTL3SS7. Yeah, I don't really do much right now because I'm lazy, but there's stuff up there. But please come and join us on Wednesday when we talk about the new Mario movie. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, be prepared. But it's going to be a great time. But until then, we wish you all a nomorific day.